The room went quiet. In that way silence only comes when something has already broken. My father's voice was still hanging in the air, sharp and careless, like a blade he'd tossed without looking. Too bad your kid doesn't belong in this bloodline. Someone laughed, actually. My brother's wife. Too fast, too pleased. I remember staring at the candles on my cake, the wax folding in on itself, the flames trembling like they knew something I didn't. My son was on my lap, warm and trusting. His small fingers curled into my dress. He didn't understand the words, but he felt the shift. He always did. My husband inhaled, not a sigh, not a gasp, a measured breath. The kind men take right before they decide whether to burn a house down or walk away. When he spoke, my mother gasped. And my father slammed his hand on the table hard enough to rattle the plates. That was the moment I knew the party was over. And the reckoning had already begun. I didn't cry. That surprised everyone. I sat there, spine straight, hands steady, smiling the smile I'd perfected growing up in that house, the one that said I see you. And I am not safe for you anymore. My family had always been loud about loyalty and quiet about cruelty. Blood was their favorite weapon. It excused everything. It forgave nothing. And it made them bold. My father ruled with jokes sharpened into insults. My mother mastered the art of looking away. My brother learned early that survival meant imitation. His wife fit in instantly, and then there was me. The daughter who married outside the mold. The woman who didn't ask permission. The one whose child didn't carry the right last name, the right look, the right obedience. They tolerated me. Barely, until that night. The signs were there long before the candles were lit. The way my father never held my son for more than a second. The way my mother corrected strangers who said he had her eyes. The way my brother's wife once joked, half-joked, about how genetics were funny things, unpredictable, inconvenient. I told myself I was imagining it. That family tension always gets worse with wine and milestones. But suspicion is a quiet thing. It doesn't scream. It waits, and it waited until my birthday. After my husband's line, calm, surgical, devastating, the evening unraveled fast, for someone so obsessed with bloodlines. He said evenly. You've done a remarkable job ignoring the truth about your own. No raised voice, no insult. Just a statement dropped like a match. My mother went pale. My brother looked confused. My father stood up so fast his chirped. You, my father snapped. My husband didn't move. I am. We left shortly after. No goodbye. No cake. That night, after our son was asleep, I asked my husband how long he'd known. He didn't answer right away. That was my first mistake. The proof came 3 days later. A locked drawer in my mother's old writing desk. Papers yellowed with time. A name I recognized. A date that didn't align. A hospital letter. A paternity test. Not mine, my father's. Negative. I remember sitting on the floor, the desk looming above me like a witness stand, my pulse roaring in my ears. Everything rearranged itself in my head with brutal clarity. My father had always known. That was the betrayal. Not the insult at the party. Not the cruelty. It was the hypocrisy. Bloodline wasn't sacred. It was selective. When I confronted them, there was no apology. My father went cold. My mother cried, for herself. My brother laughed like it was all absurd. His wife finally dropped the mask. So what? She said. Does it change anything? Yes, it changed everything. Because in that moment, I realized they had spent years making my child feel like an outsider to distract from the fact that their throne was built on a lie. And lies collapse when touched by truth. I didn't explode, I didn't express. I got quiet. I started asking questions, calm ones, legal ones, financial ones. I learned about the trust. The clauses, the conditions tied to lineage. I learned which documents had been forged. Which signatures were questionable. Which stories didn't survive daylight. I learned who my father really was when no one was copying. And then I waited. The reckoning didn't come with shouting. It came with envelopes, certified mail, audits, subpoenas. My father lost the trust first, then the respect of the people who'd believed his mythology. The man who preached legacy couldn't prove his own. My brother's inheritance evaporated with it. His wife stopped laughing. My mother moved out quietly. And my father, the man who mocked my child's blood, stood alone at a table he could no longer slam without consequence. I didn't attend the final meeting. I sent my husband. He said my father looked smaller than he remembered. Sometimes late at night, I replay the moment at the party. The candles, the words. The breath before the line that changed everything. I don't feel guilt, I feel clarity. My son belongs to me. To the truth. To a future not poisoned by secrets. Blood doesn't make a family. But honesty burns away everything that pretends to. And when it does, I don't look back.